Hey guys, Tekking101 here, and this video is going to be kind of like an addendum, sort of like a part 2 to yesterday's video where I discussed the technology in the One Piece world. I'll be honest with you, that video was a lot of fun to make, but I've been busy. Like, I worked like 6 days in a row, so I didn't have as much time to plan that out as I would have liked, and it was like a 30-minute long video, and at the end of it, I'm like, there is a bunch of stuff I knew I forgot. You know, I was like, I know for a fact I've overlooked so many things with this, but, you know, thanks to you loyal listeners out there, you went in the comments and explained, like, hey, that was a cool video, but why didn't you talk about this obvious thing, like the sea train? And I'm like, oh, god damn it, why didn't I talk about the sea train? See, this is why I love you guys. You know, where would I be without you? Didn't need to see that. Like, why was that? Like, is that a window to my inevitable future? God, that's terrifying. But anyway, yeah, I got a lot of cool comments, so thanks, guys. Most of them were kind of just bringing up the major ones, like the sea train and some other stuff. A lot of comments, like a running theme I noticed, is a lot of people were like, how come you didn't discuss all of Frankie's tech, or what about Nami's climate attack, or Usopp's arsenal? You know, that video, these videos, they were not intended to be like a comprehensive, like, compendium of like every last piece of technology in One Piece. That wasn't what I set out to do. I was basically just being like, okay, let's talk about weapons technology, then let's talk about communication technology, then let's talk about, you know, their transportation technology, like just in broad strokes, like the major stuff there. And when it comes to Frankie, I kind of debated whether or not I wanted to go off on a long tangent about him, because doing all these videos over the years about One Piece, well, year and a half so far, you know, I feel like I repeat myself a lot, you know, so when we're talking about Frankie, I'm like, you know, I could go into a thing about Frankie, but I did do an entire, like, hour-long discussion video. I feel like I probably referenced the majority of his weapons and the things he's got in his arsenal inside of his body, in that video, so I would suggest to go check that out. Likewise for Usopp's arsenal for the Usopp video and Nami's climate attack. Nami's climate attack is actually kind of difficult to discuss right now. In the early days, it was simple. You know, it was like the first rendition of the climate attack was nothing more than just some simple party tricks that Usopp incorporated into it. Like, it could sprinkle water, and its strongest technique was it wrapped a cord around the enemy and then spun really fast and then exploded, and that was like all you got. The second version of the climate attack, the perfect climate attack, included dial, but the version that she had after the time skip, the sorcery climate attack, as well as the version that Usopp made for her on Zoe, which I like to call the dildo climate attack for obvious reasons. My god, why did you make it that shape, and why did you make it extend when she grips it? Like, blows my mind. But anyway, yeah, those climate attacks are kind of difficult to discuss in terms of how they function, because I don't even really know if, like, Nami understands, like, exactly how they work, because, like, it was called the sorcery climate attack. This was, like, from weather technology she, you know, picked up on Weatheria, and even when Usopp was modifying it to make the dildo one, he was, like, there was part of that, like, that magic wand thing that I couldn't make heads or tails of, so I couldn't incorporate that into the thing. So, yeah, like, discussing how that works now, that would be kind of difficult, and as for Frankie and Usopp's you know, stuff that they have, I feel like I went into detail there. So a lot of people brought that up. So let's talk about the sea train. All right, the sea train was the big one that I left out. Okay, so the sea train is a coal-powered steam engine that runs on tracks that are under the water, although the tracks are more of just guides, more or less. They're not really supposed to be, like, running on the tracks, and basically just as a guiding rod, you know, to get from island to island. It connects Water 7 to Poochie and some other islands, as well as Enies Lobby, to further trade. Back in the day, Water 7 was kind of destitute. It was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Not a lot of people visited it. And then Tom, who was, you know, Frankie's shipbuilding master, decided, you know, I'm going to save this town. So he builds the Puffing Tom, which is the first sea train, and runs on coal. You know, you got the smoke coming out of the stack at the front of the engine. Looks a lot like engines, steam engines that existed in our world. You know, still exist in our world. So, you know, it's pretty interesting because it's like the only part of the sea where that that kind of technology really exists, and played a very integral role in both the Water 7 and Eni's Lobby arc. We even had a little mini arc that took place, maybe 5-10 episodes, like dozen or so chapters that took place just all on the Sea Train, as Sanji, Frankie, and Usopp, Sogeking, try to get back Robin. So it was an interesting concept there. There was also the Rocket Man, which was actually built as a prototype before the Puffing Tom. So I don't really consider that a proper Sea Train because it was defective. They made the thing basically just to see as like a test to see if it could run. They didn't even bother installing brakes in the damn thing. So that would tell you how much they really, how that was supposed to be just simply a testing dummy, if nothing else. Then there's another version, the Puffing Ice, which was the second Sea Train that was built over the course of the time skip. So that's pretty cool there. Now, the Sea Train also brings up an interesting question that a lot of people brought up, is that the energy sources that exist in the One Piece world, how does that function? Because we got a few. I mentioned that electricity exists in the One Piece world, or at least it exists in the form of, they have light bulbs. I mentioned that the Sunny has a refrigerator on it, so that could be, has to be powered by electricity, although I guess you could always say that could just be an icebox. I'm pretty sure it's a refrigerator. But how are they getting electricity to this? How are they powering all this? And it's interesting, how would fossil fuels work in the One Piece world? Because how fossil fuels are here, coal and oil and everything, you have to build, giant rigs in order to get that stuff out of the ground. And in some locations, it's closer to the surface and easier to gain access to, and other locations, it's deeper and it requires more money to drill. Fun fact, I don't know if this was accurate, because I didn't do any, research on this right beforehand, but when I was in class once, one of my professors mentioned that there's actually more oil under the United States than there are in the Middle East. It's just that the Middle East, it's easier to access that oil. It's cheaper. So that's why they're kind of like the powerhouse of oil in the world. And meanwhile, the oil that's in the United States and other regions, there might be more of it. It's just harder to get to. So I'm not sure if that's accurate. That's just the way I'm remembering it. But here's the problem in the One Piece world. 90% of the world is water. And I don't think they figured out the ocean, oil rigs kind of stuff yet. I don't think they figured out how to make these giant drills. Maybe a devil fruit power could do it, but using a devil fruit power under the ocean, kind of a problem with that. So you're not going to be busting out, Mrs. Merry Christmas's, mole fruit in order to dig down to find oil under the ocean. And in terms of islands, I'm sure some islands are lucky and have a lot of oil and maybe natural resources. Other islands, you're just shit out of luck. And because some islands are like their own, unique kingdoms and stuff, maybe trade, with certain kingdoms is going to be difficult. So it's basically it's whatever lot you draw is what you're stuck with. Well, we're on an island that doesn't have any real major natural resources. We don't have coal, or we don't have oil reserves, so I guess we're stuck using sailing ships and kind of primitive type technology. I'm sure there's other islands that it's like, oh, hey, we have natural resources, so we have more electricity and things like that. Things like steam power seem to exist in the One Piece world in some form, even with, using coal in order to power paddle ships. The Mini Mary is a paddle ship, and you can clearly see smoke coming out of the stack, okay? And it's not cola energy, because cola is apparently, the most, it's a very clean burning fuel in the One Piece world, apparently, because that's what the Sunny runs on. And do you see giant, smokestacks or steam of cola, jettisoning out of the Sunny as it's traveling around? That's what, the Kude burst, that's what that uses, but, I'm assuming it's cola energy which powers the Sunny, and the electricity that's running throughout the ship. You don't see any emissions coming out of that thing, so I guess cola is just, yeah. And that's the funny part of One Piece. It's just Oda's okay, it's the same thing with the snail thing. It's Oda, how are the people in One Piece going to communicate? Snail power! Alright, how are they going to generate electricity, and how are they going to have enough energy to, have this giant air compressor to shoot the Sunny into the air? Cola power! And that's, of course, what Frankie runs on. He has, a little refrigerator in his stomach, and he keeps, 3 bottles of cola, and those 3 bottles of cola get him pretty damn far. He has air compressors in his arms, the coup de vent, you saw how powerful that damn air compression cannon is. It knocked over a giant fucking industrial crane at Gale-La that was designed to, lift up galleons. Also, by the way, they have industrial-sized cranes at Gale-La. voila. That's a piece of technology. So 3 bottles of cola. Now, granted, after using coup de vent, that, like, drains his reserves quite immensely, as well as with coup de bout. But a lot of other, you know, Frankie techniques, like, he's got a gun, he's got his fresh fire, which is a flamethrower, he's got all these other things he has, that require cola power, and just 3, like, liter bottles of fucking cola are enough to get him by. So, someone would have to calculate that. I have no idea. Like, how much energy do you get out of 1 liter of cola? I don't know if that's even possible to calculate. Okay, the only way I think you could make this go down is if you were actually going to calculate this, is from the statistics that we know the most about. We know the Sunny runs on cola. We know Coup de Burst requires 3 full barrels of cola. Cola. So, find, like, the average size of a barrel, you know, just the average size of a barrel, okay, and that's what you got there. Okay, now the Sunny is propelled a kilometer away. You'd have to figure out the arc of exactly how it goes, because does it go like this, or does it go more like this? You know, you'd have to calculate that out. You'd have to calculate the weight of the Sunny. With that, I bet you could probably just find a similar kind of ship, which is, what kind of ship is the Sunny? Is it a Brigadoon? I'm not 100% if that's what that's called. I know, Caravel, that was the Going Merry, but the Sunny, I think, is a Brigadoon or something, a sloop ship or whatever. So you'd have to figure out, like, a general size of that, you know, the unique dimensions of the Sunny aside. Probably have to factor in air resistance somewhere. But converting cola energy into enough power to shoot the thing into the air a kilometer away. Like, just ballparked how much fucking energy cola power would require for that. That's 3 barrels for that, as well as with the Gao cannon, but I think that'd be a little difficult to calculate. Like, how much cola power goes into a giant fuck-off energy beam, you know? Like, how does that work? Like, they have flamethrowers and lighters and stuff in the One Piece world, like Sanji has a lighter. I looked into that, and the lighter fluid that is most commonly used in a cigarette lighter, that's butane. So, yeah, butane lighter right here. I looked it up to see if butane could be really used, like, practically as, like, an actual fuel source. Like, could you use it in place of, like, propane or gasoline? Like, how would that work with butane? And, I apparently how it goes down is that, propane and things have a much lower boiling point. So, like, butane has to be at, like, room temperature to, like, light, whereas propane and other types of fuel can be in a much colder area in order to be useful. So I guess, you know, having butane as, like, a lighter fluid as an actual fuel source for, like, a ship or, like, a weapon or something probably wouldn't be that practical, because if it's, like, lower than a certain temperature, you won't actually be able to use it. And flamethrowers actually are more than just shooting streams of fire. Usually there's, like, a gel or something with the flamethrowers, so that when you shoot it out, the gel is on fire, and when it hits somebody, it sticks and it combusts, and that's why the flame sticks to someone when you get flamethrowered. You know, it's like a flammable gel that you're just soaked in, and you're just covered in freaking, like, napalm or something, and you're going up, you know? Economics probably also play a huge role into this as well. What the world government allows for trade, what one, you know, kingdom, like, trading with another. There might be an asshole kingdom out there that's like, I have all these resources and we're not giving it to you. So, yeah, that's a lot of problems there. Everything is more difficult in One Piece because everything is water. You know, it's not as easy as, like, here's Europe, and Europe has, like, you know, a bunch of nations all clustered together that you can easily travel. You can travel on foot, or you can travel with train and stuff like that, you know, to trade and everything. One Piece, islands scattered all over the world, and some regions are really hard to get to, like the Grand Line. You know, when you're in the Grand Line, you can kind of go in between, but you can't, like, trade East Blue with Grand Line so easily. You can't really, if you're in the North Blue, you're probably not going to be trading with Dressrosa too much in the North, in the New World, because it's so damn hard to get to, you know what I mean? Speaking of travel, let's go back into the airplane discussion, the flying machine things. Okay, so first off, I mentioned last time, of course, there are no conventional flying machines in the One Piece world, like planes, blimps, and helicopters. We've already gone through this. So some people brought up some other stuff. I excluded Eneru's Maxim, and anything Sky Island based, I'm excluding, because that's a completely different fucking subject. That's a completely different, you know, source of energy they have, the dials, even with Weatheria. When I do my Sky Island technology video, which I guess could be considered part 3. I guess this is just a series now. That is when I'll get into dials and all the different stuff that the weapons that dials are powering. The Weatheria tech, because Weatheria uses bubbles as like balloons and shit. That's something entirely different. That might only work sometimes in the climate of that area, in the White Sea and the White Sea. So I'm excluding that for the moment. Also, I'm kind of excluding anything that's like filler based. I did that with the movies, also including filler, because if you include like every little aspect of filler, like I said, I'm not trying to make a comprehensive list. I'm not trying to be here for hours and hours discussing every last scrap of tech in One Piece. But as for flying machines, people brought up the flying fish riders. Well, the problem with that is they're like the Den Mushi. They're not technology. They are living animals. They are fish. All right, they are fish that are outfitted with just some, really kind of just like saddles for horses, just so the humans can sit on them. They're designed to look like motorcycles, but okay. But the fish themselves are just fish. They dive underwater. They have to dive to kind of get like some build up, and then they can shoot and then fly through the air, and they can maintain that for a little while, but they eventually have to dive back down again to gain momentum. They can't fly for very long, or very far, or very high. You certainly could not use a flying fish to get over the red line. That isn't gonna happen. So I didn't include them as pieces of technology. Even getting to island on a flying fish might be difficult, because in theory, you could just keep, flying, and then dive, and then fly, and then dive, and the riders on the flying fish have like a bubble helmet that they use to get air. But they're still animals. They are fish. They have a set amount of endurance and stamina, and are going to need to stop to eat. So, that's why they might not be as productive as actual modes of transportation for long distances. For short distances, like around just one island or two, they're fine. And Duval's base was stated to not be very far from the Sabaody archipelago, so traveling from Duval's base to the Sabaody, that's not a big issue. But traveling from, Sabaody to, alright, let's go to Alabasta on these flying fish, it's probably going to take a really long time, even if they're not going to be, they might even not be able to reach that far, because of the fish have to keep stopping and eating, and there might be a set amount of limit. They have to sleep, so yeah, flying fish aren't that efficient. Somebody brought up that flying thing that you saw with Beige's ship. Remember, before the time skip, as soon as Beige arrived in the New World, this giant thing appeared in the sky and appeared to suck up Beige's ship, the Nostro Castro, like up into the sky. I might have pronounced his ship's name wrong again. I want to say Castro, but then that just makes me think of, the Cuban dictator. Anyway, that looks less like a ship and more like a fucking meteorite, It looks more like rocky. Like it's some sort of, magnetic thing that pulls them up. And they were clearly able to escape it, and the ship was unharmed, because we see it later during Totland. But, yeah, that's kind of weird what that thing was. And I might chalk that up to maybe being something Sky Island related, so we'll see. Also, the Beige ship itself is amphibious. Not only is a paddle ship, it also has tank treads that it creates, allowing it to travel on land. So, the power source there is something. As with the cola thing, I think Frankie just figured that out on his own, and nobody else even tried it out. What's this power source? Cola? No, we can't do that. That's just stupid. And then Frankie's the most crazy, is like, well, it's worth a shot, and hey, it turned out to be the most efficient, getting a lot of bang for your buck, a lot of freaking power out of cola, I'm not even gonna get into the issue with Frankie whenever he was, rebuilding himself on Scrap Island. He gets hit by a train, he's bloodied and broken, probably broken bones, he gets up on the island and he's like, need to repair myself, and just picks up pieces of scrap metal and starts hammering them to his body, and it worked. I don't get it, man. Frankie has to be a better doctor than, Law or freaking Kureha to pull that off. Performing self-surgery on himself with rusty scrap metal while he was fading in and out of consciousness, losing blood, and he managed to save himself. Goddamn, Frankie. But yeah, so that would explain the other flying machines. Some people brought up another reason why airplanes might not exist in the One Piece world. Well, it's not because they can't build them. It's because, think about it, building like a lot of the islands in the One Piece world, you can't build a landing strip there or something for air travel. So maybe that's not why the case. Or think of the weather in the Grand Line. Okay, that's understandable, because the weather in the Grand Line is wackadoodle, even more so in the New World. So that's a good reason why flying machines wouldn't be that efficient. You'd be flying, and then all of a sudden, holy shit, a typhoon comes out of nowhere and wrecks you. As for the landing strip thing, yeah, the One Piece world is mostly islands, but some of those islands are pretty damn big. I think, like, you could build, it doesn't have to be a freaking JFK airport. I mean, you could build a landing strip or two in Alabasta. It's a desert nation, okay? So maybe, you know, air travel short distances is possible once you're in the climate of an island. You know, maybe to travel from one end of the island to the other or something like that if it's a particularly big island. But I understand why air travel might be difficult considering the crazy climate of the One Piece world, so that's the case there. You know, that's also probably the reason they stick with sailing ships. Like I said, the issue with fuel. Vegapunk might have come up with an idea for the propulsion system, but it might be still in the planning stages, kind of in the prototype era, so sailing ships are still their one way to get around, maybe getting the material, like the fuel necessary. They haven't discovered cola yet, so getting the fuel yet to power that thing, you know, long distances, that's probably more trouble than it's worth. It probably costs a lot of money than rather just to keep the sailing ships the way they are. Also, did you guys know, I mentioned this in the last one, that you know, the US Navy doesn't use sailing ships anymore, but apparently, yeah, there is one sailing ship that's still around in the US Navy. Now, it's not in, like, it is on active duty, but it's a museum vessel. They're not actually going to send this thing off to war, but it's the USS Constitution, and it was named by George Washington himself. That's right. This ship is over 200 years old, and it's still afloat. You can go and see it. It has a fully manned crew of like 60 officers, and you know, they're on active duty, and it's a ship. It's a ship in the U.S. Navy. It'll never get sent to war, but it can still float, and it can still sail under its own power. So that's incredible to think that this ship, 200 years old, is still around and in fairly good condition. That's amazing. I would suggest go looking up the history of it. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. What else do we got here? Talked about Sky Island, talked about the sea train. Okay, the Germa. A lot of people brought up the Germa. Like, why didn't you bring up that? See, the problem with that is I kind of was like the same thing why I didn't go way into detail with the Pacifistas. Vegapunk's technology is, like, only limited to him. The only reason that tech exists is because Vegapunk exists, okay? He's the world genius. He has, you know, ideas in his head that are, like, 500 years above, you know, like, what the current, you know, humanity is capable of and all that stuff. That's how he's able to come up with freaking Pacifista technology and the propulsion systems and the sea prism stone lined hulls and things like that. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here questioning, like, well, if Vegapunk can build cyborgs, how come there aren't any cyborgs on any other, I mean, how come there aren't, like, massive armies of robots on other islands? You know, well, obviously, because the only person able to build those things is Vegapunk, you know? And it's kind of the same thing with the Germa, because Judge worked alongside Vegapunk at one point. I know Judge doesn't look like one for really the science type, but they did work together at some point. So, you know, him and Vegapunk probably knocked their heads together and figured out, like, we cracked the human genome, here's freaking cloning tech, and here's, like, genetic modification technology. So I'm not gonna sit around and be like, the Germa have freaking cloning and genetic modification techniques, so how come the, you know, Doflamingo and Dressrosa did not have cloning and genetic modification technology? Obviously, because the Germa in Judge is like the brain of the operation. He's like the only one in Vegapunk that know how this shit actually works, and they're kind of ahead of their time there. So, you know, that makes sense there. I don't know much about genetic modification, or, you know, I wasn't like a biology major or anything, so getting into that, I'm kind of hesitant there. Also, minor caveat just about weapons again, like the flintlocks. Not very much about this. You know, people brought up maybe it's just cheaper to manufacture flintlock rifles than it is with, like, semi-automatic stuff. Like, not even semi, like fully automatic Tommy guns. We saw that with Beijing. Maybe it's just easier to manufacture flintlocks. I mean, I would question that, because a flintlock, this is a world where pirates with magical fruits and hockey exist, so a flintlock is really going to do, you know, screw all against somebody like that. I can understand maybe keeping the flintlocks to, like, people in the soldiers of the Marines in the 4 blues, like, because you don't get to see that much action there, but like, the soldiers that are stationed at Marineford, even if it's really expensive to make, like, automatic weapons and everything like that, like, and Gatling guns and stuff, you know, at Marineford during the war with Whitebeard, there is no excuse why you wouldn't have that stuff there. Like, you know, Gatling guns on the freaking, you know, turrets ready to just mow down enemy invaders. Like, that stuff would be very useful to have. You know, even if it's really expensive to make the automatic rifles, you know, make them and give them to just the troops that are stationed at Marineford. It will at least give them a chance, you know? That's like, I can understand not it being prevalent all over the world at, like, every single Navy base, but, you know, a few of them having it. If the pirates have it, the Marines should definitely have at least a few. You know what I mean? But then again, I guess it really doesn't seem to matter because some flintlocks in One Piece can fire like up teen number of rounds without slowing down. So whatever, not a big deal there. Also, there's somebody that left a comment that kind of compiled all of this stuff, so let me go and kind of address that now. I kind of wanted to address that a little earlier, I apologize. But this comment comes to us from a guy named, I want to say Sparkle, but it's a 1 instead of an A, so, Spunkle? Okay, so he basically just throws us out a list here. Some tech you overlooked, some own ideas, and some from you know, comments below. Okay, so Crocus is Dr. Tech. He lives in Laboon to treat him. Reverse Mountain Arc. Yeah, that's right. I mentioned that medical technology seems to be fairly, you know, advanced in the One Piece world. At least kind of like on our level, they have like those like breathing apparatuses and stuff that like Law hooked up to Luffy. So obviously they're on that kind of level there. But yeah, Crocus was the doctor on the Roger Pirates crew, so he obviously has a lot of know-how about this, and he had to make this specialized custom equipment for Laboon, so that was interesting. Waffles Submarine from the Drum Island arc, the Blick King, or the Tin Tyrant as it was in the English, I completely forgot about that thing, but yeah, Wapple did have a submersible. It's kind of dubious whether or not that was a straight-up submarine, because how it worked was it was just like an entire like ship that was just covered in tin, like an outer shell that was just under the waves, and then Chess would stand on top of it as a lookout, and then he would, you know, signal for them to raise. Fairly dubious as to whether that thing could actually sail around as a submarine, or if it's just like, let's lie in wait, like it can only stay underwater for maybe a few hours with the oxygen supply they have, so they just did that to kind of like, you know, lure people in, and then that's when they spring their trap. But yeah, so that was like the first submersible we saw in the series. The Sky Tram, the thing Dalton and Usopp ride into the castle, I think that was more of just like, I think that was a rather simple thing. I think that was more of just like they have a rope and then a tram, and I think somebody at the bottom or several people had to, you know, turn the wheel manually to get that thing up the mountain, like a simple pulley system, you know, a very strong pulley system, but a pulley system nonetheless. Interesting side note there. So I live in Western PA. Okay, I live around an area, I live in Cambria County and near a town called Johnstown. Very interesting history with Johnstown. It got flooded 3 times. There was like one of the most horrible floods in like American history. It was the Great Johnstown Flood of 1889. Killed a lot of people, and that's actually one of the first like incidents where the Red Cross had like their first like, okay, this is like the Red Cross operation saving people and stuff. Because the Red Cross was founded like right before that. So that's like when they really had the chance to shine there. So a lot of history involving around the Johnstown flood. Don't go there now, it's a complete shithole now, but a lot of interesting about that town. There's an inclined plane system there. So if you don't know what this is, basically back in the day, right, you had to rely, before steam engines, this was like in the 1820s, 1830s, this was before steam engines became like powerful enough to actually, you know, be, you know, practical. You had to rely on ferries and boats in order to get goods from one place to another. And so the name of the game is creating canals. So you had to take a canal from Philadelphia all the way over to Pittsburgh. Problem is that there's these giant mountains in the way, the Appalachian Mountains that you're going to cross to, the Allegheny Mountains. So they had to figure out a way to dig a canal through these mountains. And what they came up with was, first off, they dug like a tunnel straight through a freaking mountain. But basically what they did is they took the boats off of the river and then placed them on like these tram cars and then hooked them up to a pulley system to physically pull these things up an entire mountain and then ease them back down again, back into the river on the other side. And the reason I'm telling you this very long, convoluted story about, not really convoluted, but this very long story about the region I live in, is because the rope that they had to use on those things had to be very, very thick. Because when you have a giant boat that's halfway up a mountain, and it would take about like 6 hours to get these things all the way on top and all the way back down again. It took a while. That boat is on a, train track all the way on top of that freaking mountain. That rope snaps. You better get the fuck out of the way, because that thing's gonna be barreling down the mountain incredibly fast. A lot of people died, okay? So anyway, the point of the matter is, they eventually invented steel rope, like steel cable that can be woven like a rope, and then that can actually work to get the stuff up the mountain. That's, like, the reason that shit was invented to begin with. So, interesting story about my region, but I just wanted to bring that up because we were talking about, like, the pulley system and everything, getting that things up there. Probably went more into detail than I needed to, but hey, history's always fun! Oh, and the Allegheny Portage Railroad, that died. Like, that whole system with the pulley and everything took years and years to build that thing, digging through mountains. A lot of ingenuity went into this, and like, it only had, like, 20 or so years of life. And then after that, they built, like, oh yeah, steam engines are a thing now. So that whole pulley system thing, yeah, with boats and rivers, yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. Just trains, so kind of sucked, but yeah, history's fun. All right, what's next? Kureha's mortars. All right, well, we've already established that, like, okay, so, rockets. Let's talk about that, because I brought up missiles, and I raged over missiles. My problem with the missiles was not that a missile exists. If missiles do exist, why, like, weren't the Marines decking out, like, Marineford with missiles? Like, Whitebeard's here, launch the missiles! But someone also brought up Frankie has rocket launchers now. I didn't really bring that up. Once again, that's Vegapunk technology, technology that, he got at Vegapunk's lab, the RPGs, the Frankie missile launcher, the radical beam. That's all from Vegapunk's head, and Frankie might have modified it a little bit. As for Kureha's little mortars, I don't remember those myself. Oh wait, are you talking about, like, just the mortars? Because Kureha had a lot of funny scenes where she was chasing Luffy and Sanji around her place, throwing weapons at them. I was thinking she pulled out a bazooka at one point. I wouldn't put it past her. But are you just talking about the mortars that, like, she fired into the air above Drum Island to make the pink snow? I think those were just simple cannons. They like specialized cannons that were designed for combat. Those were more of Waffles things than anything, because that was Waffles' castle that Kureha took over, and Hiraluk devised those special powder, balls things to explode. I think that's all that was. Those weren't like RPGs or rockets or anything really highly advanced, just cannon fire, really, just modified slightly. So that's all I'm talking about there. Dance powder and Alabasta, a lot of people wanted me to talk about that. An interesting chemical. We don't really know exactly how it's made, I don't think, but when you burn this stuff, it goes into the atmosphere and then sucks up all the moisture from the surrounding area, compiles it in one location, and then rains in one area. I'm not a chemist, don't really understand the whole, like, where I would even begin to, like, how this powder works, how whenever it's, like, turned into a gas form, it sucks up all surrounding moisture. I don't think we ever get really an in-depth look into how it's actually made, just how it's illegal to be manufactured, but yeah, there's that. The Crocodile's Casino, we kind of discussed that with Film Gold, yes, electricity exists there. Alabasta would probably make the most sense on having, like, oil or coal reserves, because it's a desert, and in the in our world, the Middle East is the place that has the most oil, or like the powerhouse of oil there. The Sea Train brought that up. Aqua Laguna warning system, I think that's just the Den Mushi, isn't it? Just like an intercom system. Flying Fish Riders brought that up. Tenryobito suits, okay, so those are basically just vacuum suits, like they have suits like that are like self-contained, like quarantine suits. They have to have their own oxygen supply, maybe some type of air filter. Air compressors exist, because we saw that with the Sunny and, other things. So, yeah, I could see how maybe having some kind of air filter there to kind of, maybe it's just a really basic air filter. Like you can make a basic gas mask just by taking, like, like some container and then just packing it through a various, like Dr. Stone teaches us this. You know, you have to have charcoal in there or something, you know, layers and stuff, and you pack this in, you know, the air will get filtered through, and you basically made a simple air filtration, like gas mask kind of system. So that's not all that complicated to make. That's probably something that the Tenryubito have. Buggy's bombs, interesting, because you have the buggy ball, the normal size one, that's just this massive explosion. Then you have the Muggy Ball, which is the mini Buggy Ball, that is even more interesting because it's this tiny little gumball jawbreaker size thing, but has a big boom! So, more interesting than that is how did he smuggle that into Impel Down? I guess he could always just, you know, pop out a small little, like, spot of his body using his Bara no Mi and sneaking that in there. That also brings up things like Devil Fruit-powered vehicles that we see in the One Piece world, which are also kind of specialized tech, like Ace's striker ship that has like a little, you know, metal plate that he lights his feet on fire, and then it has propellers and some paddles on the side that, you know, jettison his ship forward. You know, I was looking into ways that, like, maybe the heat from that metal part is, you know, being generated into electricity, being turned into electricity. I'm not exactly sure how hard it is to turn heat into electricity. I know a fair amount of electricity is required to turn that into, like, straight-up heat, which is why, like, the dryer in your house has to run on, like, a higher, you know, there's, like, a specialized, like, plug for that, and it draws more power than your standard other appliances just because it's really hard to turn electricity into heat. It requires a lot of electricity to do that. So I'm not exactly sure how difficult it is to go from, like, the heat generated by Ace into electricity, or, you know, how complicated that is, but that's what he does. Smoker has his bike. In the 4 Kids dub, it was the Smog Hog, you know, so he's got that. Considering Smoker literally makes smoke, maybe he just has infinite energy right there with him. Probably not infinite, you know, he couldn't just keep producing smoke forever, but yeah, I mean, he pumps smoke into his bike and it gets it moving, so I guess he's also like a very, basically a power generator right there. What else? We also have, well, Eneru's Maxim I brought up there. You know, the Maxim is run by Eneru's electricity. I think there was another Devil Fruit run vehicle that I'm forgetting right now. There was a big one. I'm trying to remember it right now. Oh, it was Galdino's ship. Yeah, Mr. 3's ship was also powered by his wax abilities. I'm not really so sure how that worked. You know, a wax-powered engine, although he can create fire, too, so maybe it had something to do with that. But, yeah, we didn't really get to see that all too often, but, yeah, Mr. 3's ship could be powered by his own Devil Fruit ability. Yeah, the Doru no Mi. But yeah, I think I've addressed pretty much, though, like, everything I really wanted to go into here once again. The next video I'll be making on this will be the Sky Island technology video, so don't worry about that. I also didn't want to go into the ancient weapons all too much because, like I said, we kind of don't really know much about them. So yeah, I think that's good. And I said an addendum video, but this has probably ended up longer than the original. But anyway, thanks for sending in all your questions. A lot of cool stuff there. I love having very reliable fans. And yeah, so yeah, moving on. This week is kind of busy for me, as I kind of stated. I got done with 6 days in a row, 2 of which I wasn't even supposed to work originally. Just a lot of people calling off and being sick and family emergencies, like serious issues like going on right now. But the good news is I changed my availability for work, so maybe not like, you know, for another 2 or 3 weeks it'll take effect, but I'm really only going to be working like on the weekends. So you'll definitely be seeing more videos from me. The thing is with working in retail, in January it was dead, and I got like a shit ton of videos out in January, like a bunch. But then after, you know, February, March, Easter's getting close, it starts to speed up again, so, you know, but yeah, don't worry, I'll be getting more time, some more videos out for you guys, so hold tight. And I'll also be bringing back movie night eventually. I know that's kind of been delayed the last few weeks, but I'll be bringing that back soon. So thanks for anybody for watching. Tekking101 signing out. Later.